Hello, hello, my friends. AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink. Welcome back to my face, my card making space. And yet another card using the Simon Says stamp, Mushroom Stems. My camera is going to keep it blown out. Wafer die set. I have a playlist with all the videos I've done using that wafer die set. If you're new here, I tend to have random favorites throughout the years of certain stamps, certain dies, whatever, and I will revisit them over and over again and make videos. And then I will put those into a playlist on my YouTube channel, and there are many. This being one of them. So, at the end, in the end screen, I'll have a link to that playlist. This time, I made possibly the biggest card I've ever made. I'm not sure, but I needed space because I wanted to do a rainbow of mushrooms, and I pulled out all oldie but goodie favorites of mine. We're doing some splattering and some dotting and die cutting and all the fun things. Really, it's actually a simple card to make. So if you keep watching, I'll show you how I made it. And then, as always, I will have links in the description box below the video to all the supplies I used. My links are affiliate links. That just means that if you click on one of my links, end up placing an order, I get a little kickback from that at no extra cost to you. It's what helps pay the bills and fund the channel. And yeah, let's get into making this card. So I have two of these mushroom stem wafer dies. I mentioned it in, I do not remember which video because I've done many, but this became such a favorite of mine that at one point Simon had, a sale on their brand, something. So I ordered a second set just so I could do things like this. Just means faster die cutting. Do you need doubles of things? No, but some of my favorites, I was like, makes sense, especially wafer dies. I was like, it's nice to have extras. So I went through my, bin of scrap cardstock and pulled out a rainbow of colors and got them all ready to go. Like, this is kind of the prep work I usually do, behind the scenes before I do a bunch of die cutting. The thing I did differently, though, is I had them and then I cut them in half even again because I was like, I only need the mushroom tops with the color cardstock. There's no sense wasting a ton of cardstock die cutting pieces I don't need. So once I had my cardstock ready, I did all of my die cutting. I'm not going to show all this on screen because it's redundant. It's the same thing. So I started with the color pieces and then I set them on the side in a tray. I really like these little Spellbinders trays. I've shown these in many videos. I think I showed them in my haul video a few months ago. I don't even remember. Anyway, I like them. I'll have a link to them in the supplies. I use them a lot, whether I show them on screen or not, to do literally things like this, just to hold, my piles of die cuts in place. So I die cut all the mushroom tops from various colors of cardstock. The stems and the undersides of the mushrooms, I think this was ivory cardstock. This was for my scrap bin. Nothing's labeled. It's just all like thrown in there. So after my massive amount of die cutting, which didn't take very long because I have the two sets. It's another one of those things though where like I shut the camera off and I've got, either, music, podcast, YouTube videos, whatever going, you just zone out and it's repetitive and I like that. Sometimes I think we need that. So did all the die cutting, did all the assembling as I showed. And then to make the dots, I pulled out my monster tube of Altenew's white gouache that I've said, this is going to be multiple lifetimes, but considering I've been, splattering everything under the sun as well as like slowly dipping my toes into painting with gouache, we'll see how long this tube lasts. But stuck that onto just one of my palettes. I watered it down a bit. If I was going to directly splatter with this, I would have watered it down more. But I watered it down a bit. And then I grabbed one of my largest stylus tools. This one's from Tonic. These types of tools are meant to use over a foam pad with paper or cardstock, to get like petals to curl up, to get that realistic look. That's what they're meant for, but they also work great for dotting. So anybody can do this. Doesn't take any skills whatsoever. The dots aren't going to be perfect. They look sort of okay on screen. In real life, like they're misshapen and all that. I don't care. Don't care. Perfection is overrated. Plus, it's just cute because all you do is you push the dotting tool into the gouache, pressed onto the cardstock. And just like repetitive stamping, each time you press the tool back onto the cardstock without reapplying any of the gouache or paint, you could use paint for this as well, the dots can get smaller. So that way you get variety in the size and shape of them. So same thing, just worked my way through all of these. It honestly didn't take very long. I had a hardboard off to the side that I was setting these all on because I have a pile of mushrooms to add all these little dots to. And I just did it. My last video using these little mushrooms, I had colored the tops with alcohol markers and then added dots over it. And I discussed in that video how I struggled keeping the dots white because I had used like alcohol markers and red specifically. Red likes to be notorious for causing all the issues. This is one way around it. And I knew that to even begin with. Anything you use, like any sort of medium, whether it's alcohol markers, inks, paints even, possibly. And again, with red, because red is just notorious, will usually bleed through. But because this was all cardstock, all the dots did stay white. Would I have been upset if they hadn't? Not really. Again, perfection gets overrated. And this was just a fun way to add like some texture to otherwise plain die cuts. So after all my dotting, set all those aside to dry. And then I pulled out the, this is the CZ Design Hello Script? Simple Hello wafer die, which is also just a nice size. And I die cut the word from that same, I think this is ivory cardstock. And the outline I die cut from black cardstock. And the word I die cut multiple times so I can stack them together with my craft tacky glue to give it the, dimension that I really like. So I got 3 layers of those adhered together before I adhered those to the die cut outline. So just applied a thin little amount of the craft tacky glue and got that adhered into place. And then once that was adhered, I decided I needed a little bit of greenery for my background. So it's not just the little mushrooms. So another oldie but goodie favorite is the FIDDLY leaf wafer die. And I die cut that from, I think this is Simon's leaf green cardstock. Again, I just piles of it in my scrap bin. So I die cut a bunch of those. And then for my card base, I used a full sheet of 8.5 by 11 cardstock, and I'm scoring it lengthwise at 4 1/4 inches. So this is going to make a 4 1/4 by 11 inch card. And one like this, I'm pretty sure that you can get envelopes this size. I don't think I have any in my stash. I'm not worried about it. This is something that'll probably prop up, with all my rainbow of things behind me, because that's what I love to do. Or I'll hand deliver it. It's cute to tuck in with a gift, that sort of a thing. Or, if you're mailing something larger to someone, you can tuck in a nice big old card. So after I made my card base, I kind of taped it down to my work surface just to hold everything in place while I, again, sat and fiddled to adhere everything. This took a little bit because larger surface and a lot of adhering, but still simple. So I just kind of worked my way around, and off camera before I started assembling this, I had laid out all of these mushrooms kind of across card. That's what determined. I was like, yep, I'm going to have to use a whole piece of cardstock to do this. And then I realized I wouldn't be able to fit all the mushrooms without really kind of cramming them on the front. But I was fine with that because I'm going to save the lighter green ones because that's what I ended up using for the greenery. So the mushrooms I made with that one, I'm going to just put on the inside of the card. So waste not, want not. So after I adhered the little greenery in place, and I just used dots of adhesive, you don't need to fully cover it. More than enough is going to hold it, and all the other mushrooms on top, those will also, of course, hold everything down. So I started with the larger mushrooms and just adhered them across the card, and then filled in all the spaces with the smaller ones. And yeah, like I said, this was simple. You just cut, adhere, dot, adhere. Anybody can do it. No special skills needed. So once I had all of the greenery and the little mushrooms adhered to the card front, I'm going to just kind of temporarily tape the card closed because I'm still going to add splatter. It needed more. So I'm going to use my Picket Fence paper splatter liquid watercolor in the liquid white snowflake. This is the shimmery one. So it doesn't look like much when I'm applying it, but in the end, I'll tilt it in the light. It just gives that little shimmery bit, which also adds like some interest and detail to the background because it's just plain white cardstock. So I stuck this in my splat box. Doesn't fit in the splat box. I'm fine with that. And those 3 remaining mushrooms I didn't use on the front, stuck those in because they needed some shimmer too. And then my little fan brush, and just splattered the heck out of this card front and those little individual mushrooms. Same thing, let that dry, and then open up my card, and on the inside I'm going to stamp a couple sentiments from the CZ Design Clean Line Stax stamp set, using pretty much the 2 sentiments I reach for every time I use this set because it's a perfect sentiment. So I just used acrylic blocks for this rather than even attempt. I would have had to get out my big MISTI to fit this. This card will not fit in a regular MISTI. And I don't have the space half the time to fit that thing because that thing takes up a ton of space, and I'm fine with using acrylic blocks. Also, I was okay because I was like, if I mess up stamping this, that stamp set does have a coordinating die set. So it's like, I'll just stamp and then die cut the sentiments and adhere it on top if I messed it up. So I will link to the coordinating wafer dies as well, but thankfully I ended up stamping it all okay. So I stamped the sentiment with black ink, and then the little sub sentiment below it I stamped with Simon's Surf Positively Saturated ink. And then I adhered those little green mushrooms onto the inside of the card because I've got tons of real estate for space, you know, to write a message, etc. And then I used another oldie but goodie favorite that's been in like a million videos, the Flickering Butterflies Wafer Die, as well as my Lawn Fawn Pearlescent Vellum, because those two go together like, you know, peanut butter and jelly. And as of doing this voiceover, I think that vellum is out of stock, but they'll restock it as soon as they can. I have backup packages of this stuff because it's just, I love it. It's so pretty. Regular vellum would look really nice too. So I die cut the butterflies from that vellum, and then adhered the sentiment, just stuck that right in the middle. And then the butterflies, I just put a tiny dab of glue right in the center. And then because it's vellum, it naturally kind of curls with the liquid glue, which makes the wings just pop up. Love it. And I've talked about this, adhesive does show through vellum. However, with this, with just such a small dot, plus the fact that it's pearlescent, you actually can't see the adhesive much at all. And because it's so small, I don't worry about it. Depending on the type of vellum you used, if the adhesive really does show through, you could add a little gem, you know, a little piece of bling or something to those centers. That looks really cute and would cover up the adhesive. So I adhered a bunch of the butterflies to the front, adhered a couple to the inside as well. And then as a final little bit of embellishment, I pulled out I've got these little red clay hearts, another just oldie but goodie favorite I've had in my stash for years. I'll link to a set. I think Pretty Pink Posh has a set, and it's got 3 shades. It has the red, pink, and white. I use all of them, as well as, you know, I've got black ones, I have brown ones, like they're just cute. So I sprinkled those throughout this card as well, and then adhered them into place with the Craft Tacky glue, just picking them up with my embellishment wand, and that finished off this card. So I've got rainbows and shimmer and splatter and cute little mushrooms and a big card. It was fun. And like I said, I'll have a link to that playlist. I've got well over a dozen different videos using these little mushrooms, so you can check them out if you haven't seen them. And then, like I mentioned, I will have a link below the video, like supply list and links to all the things, along with a link to my blog posts for those that are interested. Thank you all so very much for taking the time to watch my videos, for thumbs upping, commenting. It helps a ton. I appreciate it. Subscribe if you haven't. I'd love to have you, and I'll see you all very soon in the next one. Bye.